Hi, welcome to Easy Agent Studio. In this tutorial, we're going to set up our LLM agent called Jarvis. Let's go ahead and get started. So in our last tutorial, we set up the Easy Agent Builder Studio Gmail reader, and we got that configured. And now what we're going to do is we're going to connect that Gmail reader to an actual agent that's going to return to us the answer from the LLM. So we've come over here and we're going to go ahead and go into our folder. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go down to our C drive where we installed our Easy Agent Studio. And we're going to go over to that folder and we're going to copy the Jarvis folder out of there. We're going to just copy it and drop it straight into our C:root. And then we're going to go into Easy Agent Studio. And then we're just going to go into, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into our 2 or 3 previous videos back for tutorials. We created an Agent 1 project. And that's where we connected to the ChatGPT LLM. So we're just going to go into that. And we're going to come over and we're going to grab that API key. So we're just going to double click into it. We're going to do show. And we're going to grab the SK over. We're going to copy that over and we'll just copy that into Notepad. So I'm just going to go into Notepad and we're just going to copy it right there. And we're going to hit enter and we're good to go. All right, now we'll close that project out. Hit cancel. You don't need that anymore. We'll just open that back up. We could have closed it out using the close command, but we'll just start fresh. So now we're going to come over and we're going to load up the Jarvis project in the C root. So we're going to double click on Jarvis, go into Jarvis build, and you can see that we pre-configured this project for you as well. That's the first agent. It's a very common agent. It's just a chat agent, but we're going to go ahead and connect to it, and we're going to call it from our Gmail reader. So I'm going to go into our LLM control. We call it LLM1 for this particular tutorial. And we're going to just grab that API key, brackets itself, and we're going to replace it with our key that we got from Agent 1. And then we're just going to hide it. So now we're going to build. Now, let's look at this because before we hit the build button, we need to create in this Jarvis template, we have the send Gmail. We've already captured the read Gmail from our Gmail reader, but Jarvis will let us, we've got a script control that has the C# code that will send out the email to your email, to Gmail or wherever you're sending it back from the person who sent it to you. So we're coming in here and we need to make some changes to this. So the from Gmail right here, we're going to make a change to that. We're going to put in from Easy Agent Studio test at gmail.com. Okay, so now we're going to come down here and we have 2 more. We have the username and the password. And remember, the username itself is also Easy Agent Studio test at gmail.com. It's the same thing. And then that API key. And remember, in our last tutorial, we stuck the API key right there, which is the app name. It's the app key that we created on our Google account. And we're just going to come over here and we're going to hard code this. Now, a lot of times you'll get, as a programming style and technique, they don't want you to hard code these user IDs and passwords in there. But let me say this, that Easy Agent Studio sits already on a desktop app, laptop app, server, wherever the operating system sits. Now, your operating system has Defender. It has all the properties. Whoever's using this terminal for development or whatever should have access to the properties within. Again, we're going to keep this very simple. We're not going to configure ACLs. We're not writing web pages. We're writing agents. So we're going to keep everything local. Now, to a developer, if they can already get a hacker, if a hacker can already get into your local computer through Defender, through through any type of um, routers and all of that, terminal emulation, everything that we use to protect these workstations, both in business and if you're at home and you're residential, your router, your modem router that you use for whether whatever your internet connectivity is, all of that should be there. You've got these things configurable. So we're going to let the operating system manage that for us. We're not going to worry about hard coding user ID and password for this particular instance. So we're just going to go ahead and hit OK there. And now we've got both of those set up, gmail.com and the thing. So now we're going to compile that. Because right now, if you look at the Jarvis folder, and I come in and I go down to Jarvis, it doesn't have any console apps. The C# console app's not there. So we're going to compile that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to save it by just hitting OK. Then we can go back into it and we can do compile. And when we do compile, it's going to just compile off of your current version of .NET. You can see our current version is old. It's 4.89. So it's an older one, but it compiles, not a problem. And as long as you're on a Windows 10 machine, Windows 11 machine, you should be good to go. Or Server 2016 or above, should be good to go. So don't get caught up in all the terminology for that. So now we compiled it. Now if you go out to that folder, you should be able to see send Gmail. It's there. So now that executable sits, and it's going to get called from Gmail Reader and from Jarvis. So now let's go over and take this file and this project, and we're just going to run it. Because if you look at it, there's only one function. The function is the init. And what happens on init is on the main window, we have an event handler for initialize the app and exit the app. So when the agent first launches onto the Windows operating system, it's going to call this function to execute. Well, inside this function, it'll execute it, send the email, and then it destroys itself. It closes itself out. So you don't have to worry about all that. But you can see that all that is within the init function that we created. And again, this is pre-done. You can go through every one of these layers and get that information. You can also print this. It's kind of hard to double click into it and see that. And you see each action and which variable they call and things like that. But you can go in and you can do a print, and Easy Agent Studio will create it creates a HTML file that you can then print off or whatever, and it shows each action that's in that particular function. You can see at the very top, you can see the application name is Jarvis, the function name is init, and you can use this as a template, hard-coded on a document. You can send that up to a website for your developers or whatever, and they can just follow each one of these actions for this particular function and build it out. Makes it really easy. Okay, so now we're going to come back over here, and you can see that we've got some things going on. One thing you'll find is that we use text to hex conversion. And the reason for that is, let's go back over to Notepad just for a second. So let's say that we're inside of Notepad and we're talking about how this thing works, how each module calls another module and passes information dynamically to that module. So let's say that we've got a Gmail reader that reads every minute and it reads all the emails that it's supposed to fetch. Well, then it needs to call the agent as it picks up each one of those line items. So if the first one's Jarvis, it needs to call Jarvis. If it's reminder, it needs to call reminder. If it's another one that you created, it needs to call the other one. Just depends on what's in that Gmail the email that was sent by the participant and what agent they put in the title of the email itself. So let's say that, when it does that, it needs to prepare the data, prepare the question, and the information that it's going to pass over to the executable, which is the agent. Now, one thing that we do inside of Easy Agent Studio is we use the command line to pass data dynamically from one agent to another. But in the command line, in Windows terminology, you can have you call the name of the executable, so you call the exe, and then you do a space, and then you can put your arguments in there, like arg1, arg2, arg3, and so on. Okay, now let's say arg1 is just a user ID, and arg2 is the topic or the agent itself, what agent needs to get called. And arg3 is the question. Well, inside the question, we might have what are the colors of the rainbow. Well, we can't send that open text into our command line structure because Windows says that each one of those arguments has to be separated by a space. But if you look at argument 3, if that's what the question is, which means arg3 equals what are the colors of the rainbow, which is the question, you can see we've got all these spaces. And it's going to throw off the command line. So what we do before we send it through the command line is we take that string and we convert it to hexadecimal notation. So that we say, A5, 4, 2, all these things, 3, 3, 1, 1, whatever. And then on the space, it'll do like a 32 or whatever the hex notation is for a space. It's taking the character set of that and converting it into a numerical value. And that's what the helper function does within Easy Agent Studio. You can see that we've got convert text, hex to text, convert hex to text. We're doing each parameter. This has already been converted to hex before we got it in our agent, and it's been converted by the Gmail reader, and it's been sent to us in those parameters, and we just convert them back to text, and then we start the new conversation, which we did this in our Agent 1 tutorial where we set up the LLM, and then we do the conversation, we ask the question, we get the key string, which is the context, then we do from care to care. Now, from care to care is we're just changing the character string from a return character to a space. And we're doing that because when you go into your Android phone, or you go into your Apple phone, the format, and you download your Gmail or Outlook or Yahoo Mail, any one of those that you download and put on your mobile device, the handler itself is designed not to support return keys. So we just eliminate them. We just put spaces in there because Windows does support return keys. So we're just modified it a little bit. You don't have to worry about it. It's no biggie. You can leave it. It'll just put an extra enter key in there on the return. We'll show you that in a minute. But you don't have to worry about that. Don't get caught up in the nuances between one operating system and another operating system. Whether you're on a Mac device, whether you're on a Windows device, whether you're on a mobile Android or a mobile, Apple, don't get caught up on that. iOS, don't get caught up on that. The whole goal is that you want to be able to build out these agents and have an agent engine, a framework, or a harness that can communicate, and you can call the harness to execute your agents for you anywhere you want to using your mobile device. That's the goal. So then we come back, it just grabs the information, sends it, calls the script, which then calls the C# to send the email back, executes the script, and then it exits itself. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to run it. I've made the changes coming in. You can see that it's coming in. It's grabbing this data. It seems like we don't have any information, so we're good. But that's okay because we executed it, saved the project, compiled the script, added the user ID, the password, and we should be good to go. Now we can go into Jarvis and we need to move that data into that folder, Gmail Reader. So I'm going to grab the Jarvis executable. I'm going to grab the Jarvis HTML file, which is the project itself. And I'm going to grab the BLD file is the project open text. You don't want to pass it. But this is a compiled, encrypted HTML file that this executable reads into and dynamically creates itself based on building out, Easy Agent Studio, building out this file. So we're going to grab this one, and we're going to grab the send Gmail. We're going to copy that, all three of those files, and we're going to go over to Gmail Reader, and we're just going to paste them. And we're going to replace whatever's already in there. We've already done some testing. So now we've got those three in there. So now we finish with the agent configuration. So we should be able to just run Gmail Reader. And what we're going to do with Gmail Reader is we've already got those three items, but we're going to clear the request. We're going to start all over again. So when we clear out the database tables, it's like the next time we run this, it's like those emails that were sent inside of Gmail. If you go over to here and we look up our Gmail, you can see that on the inbox, we have those three questions. So if I go in here, you can see when did baseball first happen? Go to inbox, then you've got another one. Can you give me the colors of the rainbow? Those will execute again because you cleared out your database tables. And again, don't get caught up with that either. So it's just all we did was clear it. Now let's go ahead and hit the start button. And what we should get is in 1 minute, 60 seconds, because that's the timer that we set up for this, is it should go through the Gmail Reader again, read all three emails, execute the Jarvis agent. The Jarvis agent then goes to the LLM, gets the answer, formats it, puts it back over to the send email, and we should get it back in our email itself, the answer. And it's pretty quick. This loops every 60 seconds. We needed to give it a little leeway there for that. Because it does launch the agents and then closes them out automatically as it's going, depending on how many requests you have. Now you can add more than one user using this one particular Gmail Reader. If you need to load balance, let's say you've got 1,000 users you want to put on it, you might want to load balance it on multiple workstations. But you can see that now we've got those three. And you can see that it calls the LLM twice. Jarvis has been called twice. Jarvis now has the information, and it should have sent back the email answer to us, and it closed itself out. So now all we have to do is we go over to our Gmail, email itself, and let's look and see the answers that we got. And you can see that we just received 2 emails from Jarvis. And we're going to look at that, and we'll see which one is that. First one we did a question that said, what are the colors of the rainbow? And you can see that we've got our answer, red, orange, yellow, green. And then we're going to do inbox again. And the second one is Jarvis again. And we asked the question. Remember, we came over here and I'm not sure how to get all of the questions, the sent question. We can look at that. We can say, Jarvis, when did baseball first happen? Go back to inbox, and we can read that baseball has its roots, various bat and ball games, 17th century, and you get a very simple scenario. But that's how we interface with our LLMs through an email handler. Now, if I go in and I want to compose another email, so I'm just going to come in and do compose, and I'm just going to say my Gmail reader's still up. Jarvis is still an agent within Gmail Reader. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to say Easy Agent Studio Test. My subject's going to be Jarvis again because that's the only agent we have active. And you don't have to, when you do this on a mobile device, you can do it through voice activation. You don't need to type it out. And then you come over here and you could say, who were the first astronauts who landed on the moon, and when did they go? Again, I just do simple, stupid questions, But the goal is to interrupt and let the agent, the LLM, manage that. So now I can come in. There's where I sent the question, and now I'm going to go back to inbox, and I'm not quite sure how this is my first time on this new version of Gmail, so I'm not familiar with the web version. I'm more familiar with the phone version or the mobile version. But we should get a response back. So I'm just going to sit here and wait for email to pop up and give me my answer. I've got a 60-second window there, and I can change that inside of the Gmail reader. All we have to do is go back into that project, and we could change it to every 30 seconds, or we could change it to every 5 minutes or whatever. But it's, every minute, if you're individual and you've got maybe 2 or 3 people using it, you're not going to get a lot of questions. And those questions are going to come up. You might be in a meeting or something, or you might want to do a reminder. You might be at the store with a family member and you need to remind yourself something. You just do your voice on that email and boom, you're there. So now we got the answer back. So now we come back, it says first astronauts land on the moon, and da-da-da-da. And you can see that the formatting returned with the quotes. All of that is being managed by Easy Agent Studio. Remember, the return value on your LLM is always going to be in JSON format. So you have to take that format, get that content data back out, and then you have to convert it to whatever interface you're working with. And for us, we're working with a web-based version of Gmail, or we're working with a mobile version of Gmail. If we're doing Outlook, we'd be doing the same thing. If we're doing Yahoo Mail, we're doing the same thing. But in Easy Agent Studio, we've already captured the content and kind of cleaned up all that data for you based on the prompting, based on what we did to preempt that data return back to, like we talked about getting rid of the return keys so that you wouldn't get 2 return keys if you get a list of information. But that's pretty much it. You've now connected one agent. It's a simple chat agent, but it does work. And you connected it to your Gmail account. And now you can use your mobile device to talk to your Gmail account. Now, let's do this. Let me go back here, and I'm going to do one more thing real quick. I'm going to go into Access. And in Access, I'm going to come up, and you can see that I've only got one user set up. So I'm going to come in, and I know you guys know my business email account, so I'm going to use it. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm just going to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop the loop before I do that. Just stop it so that we don't mess this up again. So now I'm going to do access, and I'm going to come up and I'm going to say RB1, okay? And my phone number is going to be and just something like that. And then my F name is going to be Robert. Last name is going to be Bicknell. And then my email address is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say rbickney@hotmail.com. Okay, so now I'm going to add that. Now I've added myself to the Hotmail account. I'm going to hit OK, and now I'm going to hit start again. But now what I'm going to do, I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I've got an Android phone. It's a simple one. I've got Outlook, and I'm going to go into Outlook, and my Outlook is set up for rbickney@hotmail.com. And I'm going to do to agent, and I'm just going to type in easy agent studio test at gmail.com. And I got to make sure I type this in correctly. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do easy agent studio test.com. So now I'm going to do okay. And then I'm going to do subject and I'm going to do Jarvis. And I'm just going to do Jarvis. And then I'm going to do start typing. Now, there is one thing that I want to do is inside of my interface for Hotmail, I've got this thing called Get Outlook for Android. So before I'm going to hit stop again. I'm going to go into my clean button and you can see Get Outlook for Android. So that Outlook's already set up. So I'm good on that. Because what I want to do is I want to get rid of that extra data that they put in there. But I've got start typing. So I'm just going to hit the start button again and start this back up. And now I'm just going to hit my recorder on my phone and I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do something historical. I'm going to say, when did Microsoft start producing Windows operating system? And now I'm going to hit send. Oops. I got to make sure I sent it. Okay, I did send it. So now I'm going to see what happens when this gets picked up. And we should get an email into the Gmail reader, and it should process it because we set the access up for my account, my Hotmail account. And I'll let you know when it comes in. And we can watch it right here. Again, that's all you have to do to set up. And you can come over here, and now you can come down and look, and we should, hopefully, that did what it was supposed to do. If it did not, then that's okay. There it is. Gmail, da-da-da. Who sent it? Jarvis. All right, Easy Agent Studio. Let's see what happens. Okay. I may not have sent it. Let's try it again. So I'm going to hit the stop button. I'm going to go into Access. I've got rbickney at Hotmail. I'm going to hit OK there. And I'm going to go into my clean list just to make sure that I've got my access list. Hold on. Because what it does is it puts the email list in there. And you can see that I've got rbickney at Hotmail. So it did do that. So now let's go in and do this again. I think I sent it. I'm not sure. Okay. So I'm going to try this one more time. And I'm going to do Easy Agent Studio Test at gmail.com, and I'm going to do search account. Okay, I don't have to worry about that. And my Hotmail's not set up. I don't have that address in there, so it's maybe giving me some trouble for that. Okay, so it's coming in. Now I'm going to put Jarvis. Then I'm going to type something. I'm going to say, when did Microsoft start creating and making the Windows operating system? And then I'm going to hit send. Oop, I'm going to back that out. Okay, it said it sent it. Now then, let's go over to our website here to make sure we received it. I'm going to go back into my email. And I'm going to say, okay, boom. It may not trust that email. And there could be any, we're doing this together at the same time. So we got spam, Arbickney Jarvis. Okay, so we've got some spam here, Arbickney at Hotmail. So that spam was blocked by Gmail, not by me, but by Gmail. So what I want to do is I want to go in and I want to click that and I want to say not spam. Okay, conversation unmarked as spam to move to inbox. Okay, so we may have to do that inside of Gmail to allow for those messages to come in. So now that it came in, let's see if we've got this turned on. We've got it stopped. So I'm going to do start again. And again, that was Gmail. That wasn't me. So that's just letting you know that if you do set someone up new in a different email environment, you might need to unspam them if Gmail's got it set up to configure this for spam to start out with. And that's no biggie. You just unspam that ID, and then next time you send something, it'll go right through because it'll recognize it not as spam. So now we've started this again, and we're going to go through this. This actually turned out to be a good session because I didn't realize that in Gmail that it was going to spam a new ID coming in. That you have more control in your Google email than I had originally thought. Now Yahoo, I don't know if Yahoo may not spam. They may let spam go through a little bit more than Gmail does. So okay, now we're picking it up, and you can see we've got a new one. There's our request coming through, and you can see that the answer is there. So now the email itself has been sent to my phone, and I'm going to look it up, and I've got my response coming back from Easy Agent Studio Test. It says Microsoft began developing the Windows operating system in 1980s. First version 1, released 1983 and November 10th, but it did not gain significant popularity until later versions were released. 1990, version 3, it became pretty much popular at that point. But it worked. So our agent's talking to our phone, it's talking to our desktop, talking to our web-based email. And that's it for this tutorial. In our next tutorial, we're going to be interfacing with the event handler and setting up the reminder agent to talk through that. But for our simple Jarvis agent, we've done it. We've connected to it. It's working. We've set up our email. We also added a new person into our Gmail reader, which is me, Arbickney at Hotmail. And that worked out fine after we unspammed myself. And that turned out good. So that's it for this tutorial. Hope that worked out for you. Look forward to our next tutorial. Thanks and have a great day.